My first question is, what are the key differences between driving a diesel car and driving a gasoline-powered car? Like, what about talk about engine braking and pit stops with relation to miles per gallon?
Well, it's a funny thing that on the road and on the track, we've found a very similar sort of feeling and change of driving style, if you want to really call it that, except obviously on the circuit with a much increased horsepower, but especially the torque that we gained when we went from the already very efficient V8 FSI direct injection to the V12 TDI direct injection. And so in that side of it, all the information that I had from driving a diesel road car was actually, you could use it.
Translated.
And quite a lot of it. The big thing is the fact that I think nowadays diesel's very, very different to what the historical thought about it actually was. We've got extremely efficient and clean diesel. Actually, the diesel itself, the fuel you put in the car, but also the engines as well and the particle filters. You've got effectively a clean burn, and you can use all of it. It's not as if you've got a lot of deposits and particles coming out the back.
Sure. The
driving side of it was interesting because when we first got into the racing car, you basically had an enormous kick in the back. The acceleration was unbelievable. It was just boom, there, instant, and off you went. But then when you came to the braking and downshifts, because the engine is quiet, which is again something that surprised me actually how quiet it was, that you realise that you've got to retune your brain to the fact that you're only revving to maybe 5,000 revs. You're not revving to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's 5,000 revs, and so therefore it's quieter. And then when you're playing with the downshift to try and slow the car down, you've got maybe less engine braking, but you've got to, it's just a re-evaluation of what your senses are telling you.
Sure.
The big thing for us in racing was that basically we got a lot more torque.
Okay.
And so therefore it was corner exit, but it was also just sheer power on the straights. So overtaking was easier, became easier. And the second thing is we gained a lot in fuel economy. We gained a significant amount in fuel economy, and that meant for us less pit stops, which meant we were on the circuit and not in the pits refueling, which gained us a lot in comparison to petrol cars.
Oh sure, that's much more valuable than a second on the track.
Well, you have to work very, very hard to gain anything on the track, a tenth of a second. And we've won races by, in fact, we won Petit Le Mans in 2007 by 9/10 of a second after 9.5 hours racing. That's the difference between winning and losing. And so therefore we were looking for every little advantage possible. And, we found, I would say, a real gem in the pocket when we produced the first ever purpose-built diesel racing engine.
Sure, yeah, in the face of everybody. In the face of pundits.
Well, the thing that was very interesting about it was that, for so many years, motorsport has gone down the same route year after year after year. It's always been gasoline, it's always been basically big displacement, lots of horsepower. And this was the first time, and it's kind of typical of Audi in a bit of a way, where they sort of thought, okay, what have we got? What do you think we can do? And we'll do something very different to everybody else, which sets yourself up if you're not successful.
Sure, right.
However, I have to say, thankfully from my point of view, but obviously from their point of view, that each time they've done it, when it was with Quattro, when they first introduced that system into rallying, and the rest of the rallying community laughed at them and said, that's for tractors. Then they won the World Championship. And I can't think of a World Championship that has been won in rallying since then without Quattro four-wheel drive system. So they really thought outside the box. And it's the same with the FSI direct injection that they introduced to Le Mans, and now the TDI, the diesel. And so they're a company that I don't think follows trends, they make trends.
Do you think diesel's going to follow that same route? I mean, obviously other manufacturers have taken on to the diesel train. You think diesel's going to go the same way in racing? And would you personally go back to gasoline now? Or
I think the one thing that was very good when we won that first race with the diesel in 2006 at Sebring, 12 hours. Well, there's two things actually. One, that it alerted the rest of the world that there were an alternative. You didn't just have to have petrol or gasoline to be able to produce a high-performance, top, cutting-edge technology racing engine. And the second thing was that a lot of people in the paddock didn't believe it was diesel. I promise you, I had a guy coming up to me and saying, really, what does it run on?
Really?
Is it gasoline? I said, no, it's diesel. No, is it avgas? It's diesel. And he just cut categorically wouldn't believe me. He thought I was lying. It's diesel. You know, accept it as diesel. It's not dirty and it's not smoky, and you know, it's got a lot of power and it's got a lot of torque, and we've got fuel economy. We've got all the benefits without the negatives.
Right.
And it's diesel. And in Europe, we've been very used to that for a long period of time, but I don't think in the US you've had to. Right. You've had very low gas prices, and to be honest, it's just the way that the market has been and was. But now the world's changing, and it's changing very quickly, and obviously the way that the car market is over here, I think people are realising the potential of the technology that has been running in Europe, and I've certainly been running in my current road car and previous road cars for quite a long time.
Sure. What was your first diesel car?
It was actually, now let me think. I've had diesels when I was a little kid, and I'm talking in the late 80s, because my family are from a car dealership background, and so I was always running around in different sort of things. But within the Audi range, I had an A4 3-litre TDI, and it was a funny thing because I'm a racing driver and I like to kind of go fast and everything else. Now, I thought 300 horsepower, you've got to have a minimum of 300 horsepower in a road car. It's not really a road car. And when the 3-litre TDI came out, and it was basically there, but with the torque figures, it was the sensation, the driving sensation, was if you had 450 horsepower. Sure. It was huge.
Instant torque. Yeah.
Instant torque, and it was there all the time, and response, everything else was unbelievable. And that then sort of reset my mind, if you like, and it said, well, okay, horsepower figures are one thing, but torque figures are maybe the new horsepower figures.
Yeah, yeah.